Everybody, I am Katrina, and in this video I am talking about the Loki series on Disney Plus. Before I give you my thoughts about the series as a whole, please click that subscribe button, click the bell, and subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you along for the ride, so please do that. Tell a friend, share, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna do this video a little different because again there's 6 episodes and I really don't want to sit and break down every episode. I feel like that would be a little too much to do in one video. And I could have done like a video for every episode, but let's be real, I have a lot of stuff happening right now. I do many things, so I couldn't really do that. But I do want to give you guys like my favorite parts about the series of things that really stood out to me throughout the episodes for this season. So before I say any of that, I do want to mention Miss Minutes. Now Miss Minutes is an orange cartoon cloth. Personally, to me, she looks like if you cut an orange in half and then face it upwards, it would look like an orange. So Miss Minutes looks like an orange, but she's a cartoon clock who has like a cherry voice, but also gives off really creepy vibes. Like that creepy cartoon you might not have liked watching as a kid. That's the vibe she gets. But the voice behind Miss Minutes is Tara Strong. And if us 80s, 90s kids, this little nostalgia for us, a little fact, Tara Strong was the voice of Timmy Turner from the Fairly Odd Parents, one of my favorite cartoons, absolute favorite cartoons. She was also Dill Pickles in the Rugrats, and she was Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls. So us 80s, 90s babies who like watched these cartoons growing up, yay nostalgia, right? Episode 1 starts off with some of the events that happen in Endgame when the Avengers go back to 2012 to the Battle of New York, which Loki is responsible for. Loki, during the confusion of Hulk complaining about walking down the stairs, being mad about that. I mean, it's a dumb reason, but he was mad. And, Iron Man, Tony Stark, got pushed down and the Tesseract kind of falls out of his hand. And Loki sees this during the confusion. He picks it up and he disappears. Him doing this created another alternate variant of himself. So the first episode picks up with him popping up, and he is immediately apprehended by the Time Variance Authority, the TVA. And him doing this kind of reset the timeline. So Judge Verona Renslayer tells him he's, being prosecuted for the crimes against the sacred timeline. Loki tries to blame the Avengers, like, well, if the Avengers didn't come back in 2012, I wouldn't have escaped. And she lets him know, well, actually, Loki, this was supposed to happen. The Avengers was supposed to come back and try to do what they can do to stop Thanos and from everything getting, the snap, and everybody was like half gone, half there, and life was over. So Loki, however, was not supposed to escape what he did. So by the end of the first episode, you see Loki go to the time theater and you see him see some events from, the future, but you also see him watch the events of his life. So you see what Loki did in 2012, his very complicated relationship with his brother, his mother's death, and let's ultimately leads up to his death in Infinity War. Now, as a viewer, Loki did really irritate my soul in the beginning. He would just, the whole thing of him bringing stuff to New York City. I'm a New York girl. And I always question, like, if we have to have things get to catastrophe-like level events, can it not happen in New York? Why is it when everything gets real crazy and shit goes down, y'all just want to come to New York? There's Jersey. There's Pennsylvania. Take that shit to California. That just always got to come to New York and do some stuff. And yes, I know that Captain America's from Brooklyn and Tony Stark lives in the city and Spider-Man is from Queens, and I totally understand that. I'm just real tired of us always getting the shitty end of the stick when stuff goes down. So, anyway, Loki was responsible for what happened in 2012, so I really did not like him. Okay? But by the time we got to Infinity War and Thanos killed him, I did feel bad. And I did feel sympathetic. And I felt like his character over the course of movies evolved enough that he kind of gave you like an anti-hero vibe, kind of like you kind of feel a bit sympathetic for him, like maybe he was just really misunderstood and this is why he did the bad things. So yeah, seeing Loki watch himself die was a really like sad but nice way to end the first episode of this season. I was just like, okay, I kind of feel like why Loki was trying to get off some of his, his responsibility and not have accountability. You also kind of feel bad for him. Like I don't think he realized that he kind of did change, and he did, well, a version of him rather, a variant of him, changed and got better, and then all of that just to die anyway. So that was kind of sad. And I was like, oh, okay, Loki, okay. We meet another variant of Loki who calls herself Sylvie. And I liked the relationship between her and Loki because it was really complicated, because I feel like Sylvie was so like closed off, so withdrawn, and like completely untrusting of people. And granted, Loki mentioned this a few times, but especially in the last episode, he said, well, I am not somebody that can be trusted. I am not trustworthy. And she's somebody who doesn't know how to trust. So it was a really nice dynamic to see how they worked with each other throughout the episode. She comes in episode 3, I believe. And in episode 4, I believe she tells Loki that she did escape the TVA as a child. And during her, like, kind of expressing some of the things that went through her childhood and why I guess she was so adamant of trying to stop what was happening in the TVA, her and Loki kind of formed this romantic bond, which creates another branch of the time, like a unique type of the timeline, which I'm not exactly sure, and maybe I missed that as far as why was it such a big deal. And I granted they already created this alternate timeline by Loki doing this, but when he escaped, in 2012. But it feels like once that happened, the TVA was like, okay, we really have to get rid of them. They need to be deleted and put in the void where nothing else returns. So, of course, it wouldn't be a show about Loki if Loki doesn't return. But they do return, and they have to go. And, at one point, I think, which I think was episode 5, we see Loki meet a bunch of other Lokis, which I thought was really cool. So Richard E. Grant, I hope you guys know who he is, but he's like a freaking like legend in acting and all. But he was classic Loki, so it was really nice to see all the versions of Loki on the screen. And alligator Loki, I wouldn't mind having like an alligator Loki as a pet. Just saying, I wouldn't mind it. It was really cool to see, Owl Loki interact with all the other Lokis. But me mentioning that was, again, Loki did a lot of stuff to sacrifice himself for Sylvie throughout the series. And I kind of got annoyed because I felt like Sylvie didn't appreciate what Loki was doing. And yes, I know Loki did bad things, and I know, but this is one of those, like, sometimes people can deserve another chance and they could be better. And I feel like Loki was really trying in this, and she was just like, Loki, no. So we get to like the last episode, and there's a fight scene between the two of them. I will break down the rest of it in a second, but the fight scene between the two of them was actually choreographed beautifully. I really, really enjoyed the fight. It seemed like he was trying so hard not to, like, I don't want to hurt you, I'm just trying to stop you from doing something that could be really, really terrible. And then they kiss, and I'm just like, did we really need a kiss scene? Like, again, I'm a romance writer. I love happy endings. I love kissing and hugging and all that stuff. But I feel like in certain situations, that's just not the moment for it. And I was just like, I guess. And it was like a nice way to say that Loki kind of fell from himself. And I guess you could take that in so many ways. It might be nothing really big. But I feel like the way this show was, there could be a whole different meaning to the fact that he fell from himself, like another version of himself. It's like, I can look at it as, you loving the parts of yourself, even if they're not good parts. And that might be way too deep for this, but that's kind of just the vibe I got from that. And I'm like, okay, not bad. Like, I appreciated that. Now I'm going to get to the part of, that I really, really enjoyed about this season so far, which is in episode 6. So Miss Minutes talks to Sylvie and Loki, and she tells them, I can bring you back to the timeline and you can have everything you want, which includes Loki becoming king of the Asgard, kingdom. So the disagreement between Loki and Sylvie is what ends them having a fight between each other. But before we get to the fight scene, He Who Remains kind of tells them that he created the TVA after he ended a multiversal war caused by his variants before. And he isolated his timeline and created the TVA. But he was weary. He was tired of everything. And so he gave them 2 options. So the 2 options was they could kill him and, they can end this singular timeline, but this could cause another multiversal war, or they could oversee and become his successors in the TVA, but this will be the one timeline that the timelines that are created because of everything that's happened so far cannot be deleted, cannot be pruned. This is when Loki and Sylvie fight, and as she sends him back to the TVA, you see like the timeline, you just see everything kind of bleeding together. And, you know, he goes back and tries to warn, you know, the TVA headquarters, like, okay, he warns B-15 and Mobius, like, oh, things is about to get real. And they don't even recognize Loki. It's as if Loki did not exist to them before this. It's as if the timeline completely reset. And now things are getting like really crazy. So I felt personally, I really enjoyed that fact, because I feel like, okay, now you can really just kind of go run free with what you can do with Doctor Strange new movie and what you can do with the, you know, Spider-Man movie, which is also featuring multi versions of Spider-Man. And I feel like this one action could be so many things for the MCU. But also at the end of the episode, you see a statue of a variant of Kang, which has to place a statue of the Timekeeper. And now I'm like, oh crap, you just kind of brought up somebody that could be a lot worse than Thanos. For the MCU purposes. And it just left me really excited, because I'm just like, oh my god, what are we happening next? So I am glad we are getting a season 2. I cannot wait for that. I don't know where it will take place, because again, we do have these other movies coming out, but it did leave me really excited to see what the MCU will now do with the new phases of the movie, but particularly the Doctor Strange movie, and particularly with the Spider-Man movie, as we already hinted that there will be multiverses of Spider-Mans and characters between the universes. So I thought that was really cool. So I did really enjoy this series for Disney Plus. I cannot wait to see where we're going with the MCU. Like I said, I wasn't sure how to feel because all my faves are kind of gone now. And once Endgame happened, I'm like, oh, okay. But there were things I was excited for. So Loki not only made me appreciate him more as a character, because I felt like even in the 6 episodes, you see character development. That he's just becoming a better and better person. And I really like that as a writer. I love seeing characters just grow and be better people. So that was great. And also, again, this episode, I was just like, oh my god, what are we getting? So I can't wait. But you guys in the comments, please tell me what you thought about this show. How do you feel about the first episode, all the episodes, episode 6? What do you think we're going to get for the MCU now that the timeline is all messed up? Everything is just kind of bleeding into each other. Do you think we're going to get a really crazy multiverse war, which I will be really interested to see what they do with that? Tell me in the comments. I look forward to reading and responding to everything. And also, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I would love to have you. And thank you so much for watching my video. Talk to you soon.